This is the card where we get to stop for a little rest.
Welcome to Kippy's Rest and Relaxation Spa. Unwind from the trials and tribulations of the sword cards in our realm of tranquility. Take a blissful walk through the Fool's Turnip Garden of Serenity. Soothe the tension away in Monty's Massage Parlour. All set in the outstanding natural beauty of Bilston Industrial Estate. Book your escape today and join us in our sword sanctuary.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks with the last two cards, but the Four of Swords means that it's chill out time. We've got a fella looking well out of it and lying on a tomb. Don't worry, he hasn't thrown a 7, it's just a statue. There are many ways of looking at this one, but it's primarily a card of rest, tranquility and recuperation. Waite says the effigy of a knight in the attitude of prayer at full length upon his tomb. I'll get to Waite's divinatory meanings later, but he mentions tomb and coffin, and he states that these have suggested the design, but he's not saying that this is a card of death, rather that the concept of a tomb or a coffin would represent the ultimate repose. Rachel Pollack says 4 relate to stabilization. For the unhappy swords, this translates as rest or even just retreat. The image shows not death but withdrawal. It puts me in mind of the Maranasati meditation technique.
When did you get a Maserati?
A brief history of the Maranasati meditation technique. Maranasati, or mindfulness of death, is a meditation technique much favoured by Buddhists. It involves contemplation on the concepts of dying and impermanence. The idea of this practice is not to induce fear or morbidity, but to cultivate a deep awareness of the impermanence of life. Techniques include the contemplation of endings, visualizing bodily decay, and meditating on how our material possessions are of no use to us beyond this life. The goal of Maranasati is to deepen our understanding of mortality, remove any anxiety related to dying, and ultimately give us a renewed appreciation of life and a more meaningful existence.
Back when I made the video for the Hermit at number 9 in the Trumps, I mentioned 2 cards in the Minor Arcana that are connected to it. One was the 8 of Cups, where the fella's wandering off up the mountain in search of meaning. The other one was this card right here. Both the Hermit and the 4 of Swords connect to the idea of withdrawing from the outside world. In fact, one of Waite's divinatory meanings is literally Hermit's repose, which we'll get to later. The Hermit obviously brings us back to the concept of solitude, which is another important aspect of this one. It can be hugely beneficial to take some time away from other people and turn inward for a while. The idea of stepping away from the world so we can find ourselves is kind of baked into most spiritual and psychological practices. However, and in keeping with the suit, solitude is a two-edged sword. I keep coming back to the 3 Delphic maxims. In this case, nothing to excess. Too much solitude can have a negative impact on our well-being. Technically, I live here with my son, but he's all grown up and gone away to university at the moment, so I'm here on my own most of the time. Now, I found that that's had quite an interesting effect on me. Obviously, there's the empty nest syndrome that all parents get when their kids move out. But when you suddenly find yourself living alone, it can mess with your head a little bit if you're not used to it. Apparently, the number of single-person households has almost doubled in the last 50 years. Now, as I said, there are pros and cons to that. On the plus side, it gives people a sense of independence and autonomy. There's definitely a particular kind of freedom that comes from living alone. On the downside, we're also seeing an epidemic of loneliness. Around 7% of people here in the UK experience chronic loneliness. That's almost 4 million people reporting that they feel lonely often or always. Now, these are unprecedented times. Modern technology and social media, for all the benefits they've brought us, have also made it possible for people to live their entire lives online. Human beings are social animals, so long-term isolation can be terrible for our mental health. Yet again, I'm going to bring up the Temperance card and the concept of keeping a healthy balance between solitude and social interactions. I love that card. Rachel Pollack talks about this in 78 Degrees of Wisdom, in particular the similarity to Sleeping Beauty and the Fisher King from the Grail legend. She says the king lay ill until Galahad brought the Grail's blessing, and the princess, symbol of a neurotic fear of life, remained asleep until the prince roused her through sexual life energy. Apparently, in the original story, the prince had intercourse with the sleeping princess. Once again, the Disney version decided to omit that particular detail. She talks about how the fence of thorns around the princess can represent our attempts to close ourselves off from the world. Both these characters were withdrawn to the point that they needed an outsider to bring them back to reality. She goes on to say withdrawal, even for the purposes of recovery, can shut a person off from the world, creating a kind of spell that only outside energy can break. The Thoth card is a busy one this week. We got all manner going on there. Crowley says the hilts of the 4 swords are at the corner of a St Andrew's cross. So according to Google, an X-cross, Saltire cross or St Andrew's cross is a common piece of erotic furniture in BDSM dungeons. Their shape suggests fixation and rigidity. 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 Their points are sheathed in a rather large rows of 49 petals, representing social harmony. Here too is compromise. The rows of 49 petals is a recurring theme in the Thoth deck. We'll be seeing it again when we get to the 6 of discs, but in this case I think it represents the Crimson Rose of Babylon. Now that's not to be confused with Babylon, despite my computer's endless attempts to auto-correct it. Babylon is a deity in Crowley's spiritual practice of Thelema, who was partly derived from the Scarlet Woman mentioned in Revelations. That subject is way beyond the scope of this video, but she's seen as the feminine counterpoint to the beast or father of chaos. Crowley goes on to say it represents a refuge from mental chaos, chosen in an arbitrary manner. It argues for convention. Milo Duquette talks about how the symmetry on the card represents harmony. He says the 4 of Swords is perhaps the most beautiful of the small card swords. Harris executes a textbook use of the colour scales and offers us a portrait of balance and order. The Sforza Marseille cards are getting busier, with a 4th sword added to each. The Solabusca card has got 4 swords in a wreath, but also what looks like an animal skull wearing a wig. Might be important, who knows?
We can see here the globe of the Earth 0 is repeated twice in 06.
Yep, we can definitely see that there, the globe and the 6.
A sensitive image of the withering away of the globe.
Yep, with the withering and the globe.
The Hermetic title for the 4 of Swords is Lord of Rest from Strife.
The title of the Thoth card is Truce, and if you think about it, that kind of means the same thing. You could describe a truce as a break from confrontation, so that fits really well with this card in the Suit of Swords. Now if we look at the stained glass window in the background, we can see an image of Jesus giving a healing blessing. So healing is obviously another important aspect of this card. This is where the Rest from Strife title really comes into its own. Burnout is something that seems to be becoming more and more of a problem in modern times, and I've definitely got some first-hand experience. According to the World Health Organization, burnout is a state of physical and emotional exhaustion. It can occur when you experience long-term stress, for example, working in a stressful job. That can be in a job or maybe a hectic home life that's really getting on top of you. It's pretty unpleasant and it's knocked me on my arse a couple of times recently. My own experiences with burnout have made me realise the importance of downtime, as in making time for yourself that takes you away from thinking about work or whatever it is that's stressing you out. Whether it's yoga, meditation, exercise, my ritual work really helps to take me away from whatever's going on. I'm a big kid, so swinging through the streets of New York as Spider-Man seems to be doing the trick right now.
We used to call my granddad Spider-Man. Why? Did he shoot webs?
No, he just couldn't get out of the bath.
The 4 of Swords corresponds to the Libra zodiac sign and to the planet Jupiter.
We've got Jupiter back! Yeah! Jupiter in Libra can signify an expansion of balance and harmony, so it works really well with the 4 of Swords. Anyway, some people have remarked that I'm getting the celebrity star signs wrong.
Yes, you are, actually. Marilyn Monroe is a Gemini, but you said she was a Pisces.
No, I didn't. I said her Mars was in Pisces.
Well, now you come to mention it, you said Taylor Swift was Cancer, and I know for a fact she's Sagittarius.
Yes, but according to her natal chart, her moon is in Cancer. Look, there's a zodiac sign and planet for each pip card, so I thought that would be a clever way of doing it. But obviously not. From now on, I'm just going to go with the dates of the tarot card.
Which is how you should have done it in the first place, really.
Well, I know that now. We're only on the 4 of Swords and I'm already getting wound up. Anyway, 4 of Swords notable people include King James II, Real Slim Shady Eminem, and Schoolboy's Dream Come True Margaret Thatcher. Not sure who's buying tickets for that gig.
The 4 of Swords resides at the world of Yetzirah and sits at the 4th Sephira of Hesed on the Pillar of Mercy.
We're back at Hesed, but in the airy world of Yetzirah this time. Hesed translates to mercy, but more specifically, the Hebrew word means kindness or love between people. Yetzirah is the intellectual world, so when we combine that with the loving mercy of Hesed, it gives us an expansive force of compassion and loving kindness. According to Aleister Crowley, the number 4, Hesed, is here manifested in the realm of the intellect. Hesed refers to Jupiter, who rules in Libra in this decanate. The sum of these symbols is therefore without opposition. Hence, the card proclaims the idea of authority in the intellectual world.
The 4 of Swords herb is mullein. Apparently, when eaten by fish, this herb makes them so inactive that they can be caught by hand.
That would have been useful for fishing on Noah's Ark,
Why?
because he only had 2 worms to use as bait.
But what does it all mean?
The 4 of Swords represents the need for taking some time out and having a mental or physical rest, or both. Waite says vigilance, retreat, solitude, hermit's repose, exile, tomb and coffin. So we talked earlier about how the words tomb and coffin don't refer to death in this case, but just to the concept of seclusion. It's usually telling you to take a break. In the suit of Swords, this card is the breather ring.
What the hell's a breather ring?
According to the Urban Dictionary, a breather ring is a term used to describe the indentation made in a particularly long, firm and troublesome bowel movement. I think that might be enough internet for today.
So it's when you have to stop halfway through for a breather.
It's a real life scenario, we've all been there. If you keep drawing the 4 of Swords, you probably need to lay off the white bread and get some more fibre in your diet.
That's some invaluable cosmic advice.
We also talked about the healing aspect of the card and how stepping away from any challenges can give us some time to regain our strength. Rachel Pollack says withdrawal, however, can also mean healing, if the purpose is not to hide but to recoup strength. The card can mean holding back from a fight until there is a better chance of winning.
If the querent is a man, be careful when this tarot appears with the number 14.
Why?
I don't know, it says something about your steak being compromised.
When the 4 of Swords appears reversed, it's usually taken as an indicator of coming back from seclusion and venturing out into the world. Waite says reversed, wise administration, circumspection, economy, avarice, precaution, testament. The precaution that he refers to could be the act of slowly returning to the world of the living. Rachel Pollack says reversed, this card shows a return to the world. Whether that comes about quietly or dramatically depends on the situation. Sometimes the card refers to caution, as if the knight emerges carefully from his sanctuary.
In the reverse, this card announces a certain success for you, resulting from wise administration of your affairs.
We got another email. We've won an Ann Summers mystery box.
Oh good, well I'm sure that'll come in very handy. The big takeaway from the 4 of Swords is getting away from the madding crowd so we can build ourselves up again and come back stronger than before. Ravi Shankar once said, wisdom is knowing when to rest, when to have activity, and how much of each to have.
Goes by in the blink of an eye, doesn't it? May the coming days bring you peace and healing. Until next time.